Zuby, and I don't want to come off the wrong way here and sound, like I'm somebody special or macho or anything like that. For some reason, I just was able to deal with it. I said, you know what? One of these days, I'm probably going to go to prison, but I'm going to fight like heck to stay out. And it was so much ingrained in me from the time I was a kid, having law enforcement all around me. It was just, I didn't know what it is not to have. So I just had to fight and fight and fight and keep pushing and keep going forward. And I just dealt with it. It's funny because, I had this condition once where your beard, you kind of lose it a little bit, in a different spot. I forget what you call it, but I went to the doctor. He says, that's normally caused by stress. Do you have a lot of stress? And I said, I don't know, doc. I said, I've just been living a certain way my whole life. I don't know what the definition of stress is. This is just my life without getting into all the details. So I don't know. I've just been very blessed and very fortunate that I was able to deal with it.
I hear that. What was it like what was the situation that caused the entire scam to collapse with the gasoline?
Well, my partner became an informant, and he kind of blew the whistle on the whole operation to save himself. And he did make a deal with the government. Got favorable treatment. He went into the program, and on a case that he could have gotten 100 years for, he ended up doing 2 years in prison.
Okay.
But that's how they found out. They didn't know what we were doing. It was very sophisticated, and we always were a step ahead of them, so they didn't understand. But that's what toppled that, and eventually that's where I took the plea.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody had come to me at one time and said, Michael, come on, you got all the money you need. Why don't you do that? I said, you know what? You get as much time for $1 million as you do for a million, so I may as well keep going. All right. That was my attitude back then, which is true, by the way. When I knew that he had cooperated, what happened was he testified against me also in the Giuliani case, and we destroyed him on the stand. He was not a good witness. So now he's going to testify against me in the gas case, and the government was worried because I just destroyed that major witness in a different trial. So that's why they were willing to make a deal with me for some time. And when I realized that, I said, this may be the best chance I have because I beat them 5 times. There's going to be a time when I lose, and they're going to throw the book at me. I'm going to get 50 years. They were giving guys 50, 60, 70, 100 years, the amount of time. And I was the youngest guy out of everybody. I said, they're going to give me 300 years just to get even with me. So I said, I have an opportunity to, damage control, limit my liability. And I told my lawyer, I'm going to take a plea on this. They'll be happy to get conviction on me. And what happened, Zuby, when I met this young girl, who's now my wife of 38 years, that life is an evil and a bad lifestyle. And I want to say that, I want to clarify that. I'm not calling the guys evil. Not at all. I was one of them. And not all of those guys were evil. Some of them you wondered, how could you act this way? But, why do good people do bad things? Who knows? It's the age-old question. But the lifestyle is evil. Because I don't know any family of any member of that life that hasn't been totally devastated, including my own. And not my wife and kids, but mother, brothers, sisters, father, destroyed.
Yeah.
And that goes throughout, right? So I meet this girl, I fall in love with her. I said,
when you met your wife, was that, or future wife, was that before the prison stint or?
Yeah, before. I met her in 1984, right? After I had just before I was on our trial with Giuliani, I met her. So I fall in love with her, and I said, am I going to do this to her? She's 20 years old, 21 years old. Am I going to marry her, stay in this life, and end up, she's going to be, without me? I'm either going to get killed or I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life. What's the sense? So I said, I got to make a change. Plus, I'm seeing the devastation of the RICO Act. Guys are going to trial, getting 50 years, 70 years, 100 years. I said, forget it. This life is in trouble. And I see a lot of guys becoming informants. I said, this is my opportunity. I said, if I can limit the damage to me, do a couple of years in prison, pay him back some money, marry this young girl, move out to California, get away from the life, maybe I could survive. Mm-hmm. So that was the plan. And so the real reason I walked away was to preserve a life with this young girl.
Okay.
That was it.
So do you get engaged before you went into prison, or?
Got married.
Oh, you got married before you went?
Yeah, we got married in July. Funny thing, I'm on trial with Giuliani for several months. We were engaged. I didn't want to marry her because I said, if I get convicted, what's the sense? They're going to give me at least 50 years.
Yeah.
So I get acquitted on a Friday. Jury comes in, not guilty. Saturday, I take her to Vegas and you get married. If it out of voice, I don't want to lose her, right away. And then we had a big wedding, a church in L.A. later on, months later. So we got married officially again in July. I made the deal, went off to prison in December. We were only married 4 months.
And how long did you spend in prison total?
First stint was 5 years, and then I got out on parole. I was out on parole for 18 months, and then through another series where we could be here all day, like a fool, I fell into a trap and I violated my parole. Okay. And they sent me back for another 3 years. And this time it was tough because I had the 3 years, out of the 35 months and 13 days, I spent 29 months and 7 days in solitary.
Say that again. You spent how long in solitary?
29 months and 7 days. So
How come?
Feds were very upset with me when it became public that I was walking away from that life. And because I was a high-profile figure, this was written up in the media. Life magazine did a huge story, quitting the mafia. And it was all over the media that I was walking away. Well, everybody thought I was going to become a major witness. So the feds came into the prison and said, words all over the street from our informants, you're a dead man anyway. Cooperate with us. We'll put you in a program. Help us. We'll help you. I didn't want to do that. I wasn't looking to hurt people. I just wanted out of the life. But, the word was on the street that I was becoming a witness because the feds put it out. And so I had a lot of trouble as a result of that. My father just about disowned me, for he didn't want to backed off. He didn't know what was going to happen. And he didn't know, what I was doing. And then the boss of my family is, contract on my life. And, so they kept me in lockdown. They said for my own protection, but they actually created this situation that I would need protection. It was tough.
Man, 2 years plus in solitary.
Yeah.
What is that like? I can't even.
Zuby, it's torturous. It really is. And I can tell you this. I saw a lot of rough things go on with guys that really couldn't handle it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not knocking them at all. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was very tough. But to a point where I even spoke in front of the Senate staff and a few senators the anniversary of 9/11 a couple of years ago. And we talked about prison reform. And I stressed the fact that for young people, I am totally against solitary. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have a strong constitution, it's tough to get through and come out, a normal person without, some severe emotional issues. So I think people that have done a lot of time in solitary can say the same thing. It was difficult.
Yeah. How did you occupy your mind?
It was during that time. I look at it as positive because it was during that time that I strengthened my faith.
Okay.
I mean, I became a Christian as a result of my study, not only of the Bible, but of other faiths and religions that I have a lot of respect and regard for, but Christianity worked for me. Mm-hmm. And so I became a person of faith during that time.
Matt, I'm curious to know, how would you have described your faith prior to that conversion period? So throughout your teens, your early 20s, your mid-20s, you're getting involved in all of this stuff. You're getting involved in illegal activity. You're surrounded by a certain crowd. What was your relationship with God like at that time?
Grew up a Catholic school from kindergarten, high school. I was an altar boy, everything. But Catholicism was like a subject in school. It wasn't an ingrained faith thing, a lot of rules and regulations, go to confession, go to communion. So it becomes kind of like, okay, I don't want to say a job. And I don't want to blame Catholics, I have a lot of Catholic friends. It's certainly, a Christian, part of Christianity. It just didn't work for me. I didn't take it seriously. So I had the background. I knew of God. I knew of Jesus, but it was just there.
It wasn't in the heart.
No, it was not. I had no relationship or really caring for my faith. And I didn't even think of eternity or anything like that.
So that's fascinating. And so how old were you when you got the all clear, when you came out of prison? How old were you?
Came out, I was 40.
40. Okay. And what was that experience like going back into the normal world?
I knew I had my work cut out for me because, 8 years in prison was pretty devastating. I had to begin again with a new mentality, in a new land. Basically, I was out in LA because I wasn't back in New York where I grew up and where I prospered. I had to start all over under some rough conditions because people were still kind of upset with me. So I had to navigate those waters and then get myself going. I couldn't get a job. I didn't work for anybody in my life. Well, I did when I was 16 or 17, but I worked on a World Trade Center as a laborer. But so, okay, what do I do? How do I get going? And I had the entrepreneurial spirit, and didn't work out great from the beginning. I had a lot of rough waters to navigate. I had to get my head straight, and it took me a while to get going.
What was the first venture you did that really got you back on your feet?
I got very blessed. I got recruited out of prison when I was ready to leave by all the pro sports leagues to talk about the dangers of gambling to professional athletes and then to collegiate athletes. It's really what started me on my speaking career, I would say. At the same time, I walked out of prison. The pastor that married us, my wife and I hardly knew, I didn't know him well, asked me to come and share my testimony at the church. And the pastor in the church was so good to my family while I was away. It was so accepting to my wife and my little 2 children. Now we had 3 at the time, that I couldn't refuse him. And so I spoke, I think he asked me to speak like 4 different times in the church. He gave me the topics relating to my life. And from there, word of mouth spread. I'm getting called from this church and that church and this ministry. And then, working with the pro leagues. I spoke to every Major League Baseball team. Then the NBA came. It's great. The first rookie presentation team I spoke at was Kobe Bryant, his rookie at that time. I got to know Kobe well. And it just took off. And never thought in a million years I'd be doing it. I had no plan to do it. So they were paying me to do this too. So it was helpful, So I said, wow, do I have a career like this? And then I'm asked to write a book about my life. So I write a book, Quitting the Mafia. Then I write another book, and things just started to work out.